What if I told you that the chaos we believed was already at an all-time high suddenly became nuclear? Yes, Jim Jones just went beyond what anyone had ever imagined after weeks of rumors, memes, and leaked audio shattering society. He brought receipts this time, so forget about the arguments and the heartache. According to sources, the receipts were never intended to be seen. Chrissy's husband, the man the internet has been obsessed with since that wedding bombshell, is the target of screenshots, emails, and even behind-the-scenes videos. What do these receipts indicate, then? A sinister secret that has the power to upend everything. It's already being referred to as the final nail in the coffin by blogs. As they connect the dots in real time, Twitter detectives are going crazy. Jim wasn't resentful, as one widely shared message said plainly. Jim was alerting us. The questions are more pressing than ever now that these receipts have been exposed. Who is Chrissy's hubby in reality? While grinning in the spotlight, what has he been concealing in the shadows? And why is Jim so certain that disclosing this information may destroy friendships, professions, and perhaps even Chrissy's brand new marriage before it has ever started? The catch is that Chrissy's husband isn't the only one who is dragged by the receipts. They depict a betrayal that seems larger, colder, and more intentional than fans could have ever envisioned by dragging Chrissy herself. The internet assumed that this had to do with love. Jim's receipts demonstrate that power is involved. You won't ever look at Chrissy or her husband the same way after hearing what's in there. Everything changed when those receipts appeared on the blogs. A nasty audio leak controversy quickly grew into a major cultural upheaval. The initial screenshots were so grainy that they were nearly unreal. But as time went on, they became sharper, and Jim Jones was no longer merely yelling into a microphone. He had proof unloaded. Furthermore, this evidence went beyond nebulous suggestions or resentful jealousy. Dates, numbers, and names all pointed to Chrissy's new husband's involvement in unexpected activities. Twitter detectives scented blood, blogs were foaming, and the streets were bustling. It all began when a well-known gossip website published what they called an anonymous submission, a series of emails that appeared to be informal correspondence between Chrissy's husband and a promoter in Atlanta. They appeared innocuous at first. However, a more sinister tale was revealed by the captions beneath. Transfers of money, unreported transactions. Remaining silent about this, one line in particular, "Don't let Jimmy find out," ignited the internet. Fans went crazy as soon as they read that. Was this the secret that Jim had alluded to in the audio leak? Was Chrissy's unexpected marriage announcement the betrayal that hurt more than this? Hashtags like #ReceiptGate and #JimmyWasRight went viral in a matter of hours. Fans started taking screenshots of the emails, marking specifics, zooming in on the dates, and creating a chronology, according to a widely shared thread. The receipts revealed Chrissy's husband moving money around under aliases and burner accounts in ways that appeared dubious at best and illegal at worst. The worst part? During some of the dates, Chrissy and Jim were still dating. All of a sudden, the heartache was about loyalty, trust, and power struggles that had been taking place behind closed doors, not just about love lost. The emails weren't the only shocking revelation, though. They were accompanied by grainy backstage video footage that was purportedly taken during Chrissy's wedding reveal. Jim was seen storming off stage in the clip, but the camera angle was different. Jim yelled as you could see Chrissy's husband standing a few steps away, smirking and folding his arms. Fans had only heard anger in the tape that had been leaked. They could see the body language now, though. The spouse wasn't at ease. He didn't feel anxious. He appeared arrogant, assured, like a man who thought he was already victorious. TikTok went into meltdown mode after just that clip. This wasn't heartbreak. This was war, fans said in the comments section. Jim then doused the fire with gasoline. He published an Instagram story with a screenshot of one of the purported receipts and the simple message. "Told y'all," but he didn't post anything directly. No lengthy explanation. "Don't rant." 3 words, and they went off like dynamite on the internet. It was obvious that Jim wasn't playing bluffs. He had proof. Fans could only speculate as to what else he might have hidden away if this was simply the beginning. Insiders claim that there was pandemonium among the producers behind the scenes, according to reports. VH1 officials rushed to decide whether to lean into the crisis or conceal the film at emergency meetings. Some argued that revealing this would undermine Chrissy's credibility and harm the show. Thus, they wanted to protect her and her plot. Ratings gold was what others smelled. One insider allegedly shared a text message saying, "We don't need to script anything anymore. The drama is unfolding on its own." However, one official allegedly issued a warning. "It could get dangerous if Jim has more receipts and we air this. We are no longer merely manipulating feelings. Lives are being played with." Chrissy's silence, meanwhile, became more audible. After the receipts were dropped, fans noted that she completely stopped posting for 48 hours. No mysterious captions, no ring photographs, nothing. Furthermore, silence speaks loudly in today's society. People began to wonder if she was rushing to repair the damage behind the scenes. Did her spouse have more secrets than anyone knew? Or did she intentionally let the storm blow over, knowing that supporters would eventually move on? However, the internet remains stagnant. It goes farther. Old videos of Chrissy and Jim's time on Love and Hip Hop started to reappear on Twitter, showing scenes in which Jim had accused her of not being honest or keeping secrets. All of a sudden, the old disputes had new significance. With the help of the leaked receipts, fans began piecing them together to create viral edits that portrayed Chrissy's spouse as a shadowy character who had always been waiting to replace Jim. Simply said, one TikTok became viral. She didn't find him, so he's there all the time, in the dark, awaiting. Celebrities started to comment as well, which only served to fuel the fires. In a mysterious tweet, Remy Ma stated, "The fantasy is usually ruined by receipts." Cardi B wrote, "This tea is too hot," along with laughing emojis in a comment beneath a gossip post. Even 50 Cent was unable to resist, sharing a picture showing Jim clutching a pile of fictitious receipts along with the statement, "Jimmy has been hoarding these like student loans." The screenshot went viral even though he removed it minutes later. The true bombshell, however, was delivered late that evening when an unidentified production assistant sent a terrifying accusation to the direct messages of a gossip blog. They argued it wasn't even as bad as the emails that were exposed. They said that Jim had videos. The receipts appear tame in videos of Chrissy's husband in various scenarios. The assistant responded, "It won't just be Chrissy's marriage in question if those drop. His whole reputation will be at stake. Perhaps hers as well." The internet became a battlefield as a result of that one message. Fans began making assumptions about what such films would reveal, such as dubious financial dealings, covert meetings, or even evidence of treachery that stretched beyond romantic relationships. Although the society was split at the end of part 1, it was evident that this was more than simply sadness. This scandal was getting out of hand. The receipts were with Jim. The story was in the blogs. What about Chrissy's spouse? His whole persona was disintegrating in front of us. If Jim already had emails and clips, what else was he holding on to? And when would he decide to release it? That was the cliffhanger that left everyone gasping. The internet was a war zone the morning after the receipts were leaked. TikTok makers were already playing out Jim Jones's lines like Shakespeare in the neighborhood. Twitter threads were hundreds of postings long, and comment sections were burning, with Chrissy's husband in the center. What had started out as a sour backstage tirade had now turned into a cultural challenge. The internet believed Jim was just getting started and he was no longer simply the hurt ex. He was now the man with receipts. More evidence began to fall like bombs within hours. According to a blog known for stirring up controversy, Chrissy's husband and an unidentified promoter exchanged text conversations. Though brief, the texts were devastating. "Keep this off the record," the husband allegedly wrote in one. "Jimmy doesn't need to see this, you know?" Just that sentence threw Twitter into disarray. The email line from the previous evening was nearly the same. Fans were yelling for consistency all of a sudden. One tweet that went viral said, "This isn't fake." One tweet that went viral said, "This isn't fake." The man is careless. Everywhere he goes, he leaves the same trail. How are you trying to be the king when you're moving like a rookie? Another person commented. The big twist, though, was when viewers began making connections between the receipts and earlier love and hip-hop videos. A 2017 reunion video in which Chrissy and Jim quarreled over outside distractions was slowed down by one TikTok creator. Fans saw a man sitting 2 rows back in the background of that same film, with the identical chain that Chrissy's husband had been caught sporting in previous pictures. All night long, the hashtag he was always there trended as people circled the chain and froze the picture. The internet seemed to have become a single enormous crime board, linking images, videos, and posts from almost 10 years of recording. A voicemail leak was the hammer that followed. Fans claimed that a spooky yet eerie voice message posted by an unidentified account was from Chrissy's hubby. She is not returning to Jimmy, according to the message, which was purportedly given to a pal. I ensured that. I have nothing on him. This is when it became darker, though. Unless he starts pulling old files, the voice on the tape said after laughing, then things may turn messy. Fans erupted at once. Older files. Which files? Was Jim really hiding a cache of dirt somewhere? Was this what he had been implying ever since the audio leak first surfaced? Blogs were quick to spin theories. According to some, the old files contained commercial transactions and street-related information that linked Chrissy's husband to actions no one wanted the public to know about. Some conjectured that it was related to adultery, that perhaps her new husband wasn't the hero she portrayed him as, but rather just another man playing several roles. In any case, the internet was persuaded that this was more than simply a heartbreak. Beyond romance, this was about secrets, power, and reputation. Chrissy, though, said nothing. Not even a clapback, not a post, not a word. Silence is never neutral in the reality TV industry. Rather, it's a tactic. Fans started to speculate that her public relations team was putting in extra hours behind the scenes in an attempt to anticipate Jim's next revelation. Silence, however, also allowed her adversaries the opportunity to fabricate the story. One rumor account even shared a direct message purportedly from Chrissy's team that said, "She is aware that Jim has receipts. She merely hopes that he won't jeopardize everything by abandoning them." The story was set in stone. Whether it was true or not, Chrissy was hiding. Jim, meanwhile, was doing just the opposite. He paced his living room, his eyes red and his voice raw for 7 minutes while going live on Instagram. Although he didn't specifically mention Chrissy's spouse, his statements were rife with threats. As he said into the camera, "Don't play with me. You are aware that I have files. As you are all aware, I have been withholding respect. But now respect is dead. If they continue to act as though I am resentful, I will reveal my true feelings to them when the facts are revealed." The comment section immediately sprang to life. Spam from fans, drop the files. Expose him, Jim. We're prepared. Then, seemingly at the same moment, there was another leak. It wasn't SMS or emails this time. It was on video. A blurry video that was obviously shot years ago shows Chrissy's husband at a club table with men who are affiliated with Dipset. Even though the audio was distorted, Jim's voice stood out on the internet. You could hear him laughing, clinking drinks, and referring to someone as family even though you couldn't see him. The man in the corner was Chrissy's husband, sitting right there in Jim's inner circle, years before he ever appeared as Chrissy's man. Fans said, freezing the video and circling him. The internet exploded. Jim's leaked audio, in which he stated, "He's been circling," was used to piece the tape together in one viral TikTok. "Waiting for me to slide, always in the cut." It appeared indisputable when compared side by side. The man Chrissy married had been circling Jim for years, so he wasn't just a stranger. Fans no longer merely engaged in gossip. They were enraged. One tweet said, "That's not a new man. That betrayal has been developing for 15 years. An additional person commented, "Chrissy didn't simply move on. She was an internal upgrade. It's bad." Even famous people couldn't help but comment. Funk Flex declared, This is the dirtiest backdoor play I have ever seen. After airing the receipts on Hot 97, Homie was conspiring. You can't deny that. With the comment, "Been in the shadows since day one." Cardi B retweeted an image of Chrissy's husband that was modified to look like a shadow hiding behind Jim. Ladies, don't let your plan B become your plan A if it means disrespecting the man who fed you, said Remy Ma, who had attempted to remain neutral in a live comment. Before he even spoke, Chrissy's husband was losing the public relations battle as the culture devoured it. Then he did say something. Chrissy's husband went live late that evening. His voice was defensive yet wobbly, and the video was obviously taken with a phone resting on a table. He declared, "I don't care what Jimmy says. I'm present. I am her spouse. That's all. That's all." He was upset because I filled the void left by him. He wasted his 15 years. She chose serenity over upheaval, and I'm not to blame for that. Fans briefly believed he had succeeded. He appeared composed. He sounded assured. Then the remarks became nasty. "Why is Jim claiming to have files if you clean?" One user commented. "Peace. Don't sweat like that," said another, as the comment section tore him apart. The spouse abruptly terminated the live broadcast within minutes, logging off in the middle of a sentence. That one mistake changed the storyline once more. The husband appeared unsteady rather than clear his name. Jim took advantage of the situation. A few hours later, he shared another mysterious story with the words "tick," a clock emoji, and a manila folder emoji. Tuck. The internet took off. Memes alerting fans to the impending files were posted on Twitter in droves, as if it were a mixtape drop. Some even made jokes about setting alarms and waiting for the next leak. Insiders claimed that producers were in a full-blown panic behind the scenes. One leaked email claims that in order to control the narrative, VH1 executives discussed whether to record an urgent sit-down between Jim, Chrissy, and her husband. Others, however, were concerned it would backfire. One executive allegedly commented, "We lose control if Jim walks in with receipts on camera. He no longer follows TV's rules. He has blood on his mind." By the end of part 2, many on the internet were more interested in when Jim would drop his files than if he had any more. One major issue remained unanswered by the culture: if Jim did indeed have the dirt. What precisely was contained in those files that may have ended Chrissy's marriage before it had ever started? The culture held their breath as the clock struck midnight. Jim Jones's mysterious TikTok post had been replayed, analyzed, and shared on all platforms for hours. Bloggers weren't shutting down, fans weren't sleeping, and even celebs were glued to their phones, anticipating the files to drop. Then Jim moved in, just as Twitter was ready to call it a bluff. His Instagram story featured a shaky screen capture that was just 10 seconds long but had the power to split the internet in two. The video clip included a number of screenshots, including what appeared to be bank transfers, hazy contracts, and email correspondence. The tagline that read, "This ain't about heartbreak," across the top, however, was the game changer. It has to do with treachery. "Ask your husband why he was using my name to meet with promoters. Why he was using my name to meet with promoters." Boom. The culture was rocked by just one line. Hashtags including #ReceiptGate, #JimFiles, and #ChrisSYS husband became popular all across the world in a matter of minutes. The tale was now a full-fledged cultural controversy, officially beyond the sphere of gossip. However, the mayhem didn't end there. An extended version of the leak surfaced on a gossip blog that promotes too hot to air news within an hour. It was a vicious version. In addition to bank transfers, it also included what seemed to be signed contracts bearing Chrissy's husband's name, connected to transactions that purportedly embezzled funds through Jim's connections. If accurate, it was fraud rather than merely treachery. The fans went crazy. One post said he wasn't just circling Chrissy. Additionally, he was circling Jim's pockets. "That's why Jim called him an understudy," cried another. "He was scheming not merely for Chrissy, but also for the crown." The blogs went haywire. Across feeds, headlines shouted, Leaked files verified Jim's accusations. A business scandal exposed Chrissy's husband, love and hip-hop star, connected with a fraud scheme. And for the first time, her husband's name was trending instead of Chrissy's. His entire government name was screamed into oblivion on Twitter threads and gossip blogs. He wasn't simply being made fun of online. He was being treated like the antagonist in a Netflix documentary. Jim, meanwhile, continued to leak. He dropped more pieces every few hours, much like clockwork. This is a text thread. There was a sample of voicemail. Chrissy's husband allegedly texted a promoter in one of the messages saying, "Keep Jimmy out of this. She doesn't have to be aware." Another displayed screenshots of him purportedly securing meetings by using Jim's name. The most sinister part yet was an audio recording of Jim's voice warning someone in his social circle about snakes too close to home years prior. The snake, according to fans, was Chrissy's husband. Chrissy was at this point unable to remain silent any longer. She finally spoke up late that evening with a single Instagram picture that had a black square with her ring hand exposed and the words, "Married to a man, not a rumor. Give up reaching." However, the internet didn't believe it. The remarks were harsh. "The receipts aren't hearsay, girl. If you want to, stick by your man, but don't deceive us." You were aware that he had been circling since day one. In just a few hours, the post received hundreds of thousands of comments, most of which were critical of her or pleading with her to confront the receipts directly. Meanwhile, her husband was falling apart. He made an attempt to respond with a defensive live, disputing all of Jim's posts and asserting that the files were doctored and taken out of context. Fans, however, weren't persuaded. His eyes darted, his voice broke, and the internet turned against him even more. One tweet that went viral said, "This isn't a man defending himself. This man is seeing the destruction of his home." Within minutes, doctored files and guilty sweat were trending. And the live show terminated suddenly after 6 minutes. Then the incident occurred that made this feud legendary. For the first time since dumping the receipts, Jim went live. His voice was raw, the video was darkly lit, and he was pacing like a man under the influence. "You guys assumed I was merely resentful. Did you guys think I was hurt?" "No," he answered, looking directly into the camera. "This has nothing to do with women not picking another male. This is about a snake that uses her to approach me, thinking I won't notice, and utilizing my name, family, and blood." He paused, drew closer, and said, "He doesn't just have secrets," which stopped the internet cold. "He really is a secret. And you'll see what I've been keeping hidden for years when I release the remaining ones." The harm was done, but the live abruptly stopped. The culture burst forth. Fans were now pleading for the last drop rather than merely chatting. "Jim, get rest. Seize them. The files are what we want." Timelines were overrun with memes that compared Jim's disclosures to an HBO thriller, photoshopped Chrissy's husband onto wanted posters, and even joked that VH1 needs to make this a Netflix series called The Betrayal Files. The fire was maintained by celebrities. "The silence gets loud when the receipts come out," Cardi B said as the caption for a story she shared. "A snake doesn't just creep into your house," Remy Ma tweeted. "The door was opened by someone." A meme of Jim clutching a folder titled Files was posted by 50 Cent, who also got involved, captioning it, "Jimmy said forget mixtapes. He's dropping case tapes." Before he removed it, one post alone received about 1 million likes. Behind the scenes, VH1 producers were inconsolable. Emails that were leaked showed heated discussions on whether or not to record a sit-down with Jim, Chrissy, and her husband. However, experts cautioned that it might get out of hand. One executive allegedly wrote, "If Jim shows up with real paperwork on camera, we're done. We no longer have control over this. It surpasses television." One producer acknowledged in a subsequent disclosed email that this isn't a storyline anymore. This is true. It's also risky. The streets also sensed it. There were rumors that Jim and Chrissy's spouse had almost collided at industry gatherings. An eyewitness reported that after being informed that the spouse had just arrived, Jim stormed out of a lounge. "I'm not doing this here," he declared. "But there won't be cameras when I see him. That eerie statement went viral on gossip blogs, escalating concerns that this conflict was becoming more than simply online drama and was actually endangering people's lives. The internet had completely changed its focus by the end of the week. This has nothing to do with Chrissy picking a new partner. Jim wasn't being resentful. There remained only one unanswered question. What were the rest of the files? Fans couldn't even begin to comprehend what Jim was still keeping hidden if what he had previously spilled was this explosive. Jim then uploaded one last story, which was a picture of a closed laptop with a whiskey drink next to it, and the message, "Decide if y'all really want me to open this?" As if it had been planned for maximum suspense. The culture went crazy. It was a flurry of tweets, TikToks, and memes. People were obsessed, not just invested. Too perfect, too frightening of a cliffhanger. What on earth might be inside that laptop? Pictures, agreements, videos, or something more sinister? The society was waiting for a bomb to go off at the end of part 3, not just for receipts. Furthermore, the question that remained was not if Jim Jones would ruin Chrissy's husband's reputation, but rather when and how. Now that we're at the precipice, we're looking into a storm that seems larger than reality TV, scandal, and anything else the culture anticipated this year. Jim Jones opened a vault rather than merely dropping receipts. Chrissy's husband has become more than just a mystery. He now casts doubt on the entire history of love and hip-hop, and the laptop that Jim hinted at. The doomsday button is that this narrative moves from scandal to career-ending disaster with just one click and one upload. The question is, will you be prepared when it occurs? Because the internet won't wait, I promise you. The moment Jim hits play, the culture will pick sides more quickly than you can blink. The timelines will blow up and hashtags will fill your screen. You do not want to be the last to learn about the contents of those files. To let us know that you are locked in, you must now hit the like button. Tell us in the comments which side you support. Chrissy, the woman silently holding on to her marriage, or Jim, the injured